This is Richard back at you. This is your prime time before the Super Bowl. We got Quentin Miles Cadillac Escalade transmissions in that he shipped to me, one for his tow rig and one for his blown Cadillac STV. So what we got is the first one he sent me, he thought was a rear lube. It ended up being a front lube, both of them. Cooler lines are in the front. And then he shipped me another one over here that physically is a rear lube that's going to go in his Cadillac. So he wants me to go ahead and build them both. So this one's going to go in his tow rig, this one's going to go in his Cadillac, but we're still going to put all 300M shafts and stuff like that in it. Now, being that this is a front lube, the shafts are hollow in the back. The lubrication oil goes through the shafts and then comes through all the holes and lubricates the planets and stuff like that. Well, the later design, the billet shafts are solid shafts and it loops through the bushings and stuff like that. So this one here probably is going to be a lot stronger unit for him, which this one would work with all the billet shafts too, but it's still going to be a really nice unit for his tow rig. So let's get this thing apart. Let me get my hose. It's going to be a really interesting unit to take apart because I don't see any wiring harness sticking out of it or anything like that. Now he's thinking that these might have straight cut planets and stuff like that in them. It's a really rare option to see that. It's usually in a big truck, box trucks, stuff like that. So you see there's no harness here, there's no speed sensors in it, anything like that. So kind of smells, I already smelled a pretty good burn up smell there. Now we're putting all the Transgo kits in these, all the Allison clutches, billet shafts. I mean, we're doing everything to these that you can ask for. Now this is a late model filter. It's got the legs on it that stands the filter up off the pan. The early design is just flat all the way. It's indention this way. That way it doesn't plug the filter up. So. Now you can see all the wiring harness is totally gone off the solenoids, pressure control solenoid, the PWM solenoid. Nothing here at all. Now you don't see this style very much where the loop tube here comes off the front of the valve body and goes all the way back here. So that's a little bit different if you've never seen it before. Here. A lot bigger tube. This has a really bad burnt smell to it, but I don't see any chunks in the pan or anything like that, so hopefully we got a good core here for him. Our luck on cores lately has been pretty rough. Now these are 8mm bolts here on the pillow switch. Really early design. They make a lot better design than these. That's all covered up, keeps the metal from getting into the circuitry of the board there. Now on these 4L80Es, you're going to always see wear in these plates, just like the 4L60Es. You'll see balls that's just been beating on them like crazy through here. So a lot of times you got to do plate repairs on these things here, just get new plates. Now the shift kits that we got coming will have a completely new plate anyway, so. See if any of our accumulator pistons are melted out or anything like that. Still look really good. Now this is another design that you don't see too often anymore neither. It's got this other accumulator right here in the front. A lot of times there's just a hole here, it's not used, it's just have these two here. So it is a little bit different design you don't see very often. Matter of fact, I haven't seen one of this style in a long time.
Well, you know, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but, you know, doing this, I don't think I've ever seen this design.
That design?
Ever.
Yeah, it's kind of a...
10, 15 years.
Yeah, you don't see them very often.
Yeah.
Now we'll put a new Sonex valve in the valve body, put our total shift kit and stuff like that in here. There's a lot of modifications we do to the valve bodies on these, but let me tell you, you can make this tranny shift way too hard. This is what you can overkill real easy on this unit here, because this thing's got such a big pump in it that the pressure is unlimited that you got to play with. So you got to be really careful in this tranny. So you got your engine brake servo here. Looks really good. There's nothing falls out on these, no spacer or a little U-clip or anything like on the 400s. So. Get our reversed band servo cup and piston and accumulator spring for your third gear. Like that. You want to look here. These are bad about breaking this clip right here. This starts wobbling in the bore on this. You always want to look at that type of stuff. Multiple check balls in this thing. We have some really nice check ball books that shows us every check ball and every tranny ever made. There. That's your center support bolt there. That's a hollow bolt. And then you have your overdrive support bolt right here. This is a hollow bolt too. Both of them hollow, fluid flows through both of them. Okay, just around a little bit here. Get down in here and start showing you guys some of this lubrication circuit that we were talking about earlier. We're going to be showing you about. These are trannies that you don't want to mix parts with. If you do, it's going to cause problems, and most of the time it's going to be problems in the lubrication circuit when you start swapping parts and stuff like that. So, pump selective on these. There may be two different versions on these pumps here. You got to have a front loop pump, a rear loop pump. Got a big old odor out of this one this time. You smell that smell that come out of there, Trent? It's kind of strange. Pump looks really nice, just shades. Nothing with the stator and stuff. Let's look down in here. Now, 4L80E has probably got one of the biggest pumps in any tranny as a single pump gear style. So that's why you can make such massive pressure with this thing and break stuff and stuff like that. So you can see here this tranny was behind a motor that was totally wore out. You can see the pump bushing here still has all the babbitt on it, but when you come on this side, it's down into the brass. So that tells me that the crankshaft's setting really low in the motor. Now this pump body looks really good too. The back side looks good. Everything looks really nice there. And we'll put new pump gears in here. Converter was in the pump pretty good. Could have went a little bit further. You know, like I say, we can space these pumps too, so if we don't like the converter spacing, we can always space it out. Now you notice here, this pump here does not have the little line across the land here for the rear loop circuit. This is a front loop style pump. You do not want to get them mixed up because, like I said, anything you change on this is going to affect the loop circuit when you start messing with hard parts and stuff, so you got to be really careful. Now we have our engine braking clutch and our overdrive planetary assembly right here. Now this is going to be one of the billet shafts we're replacing. The rings are just wore out really bad here on the input. This is your forward clutch sealing rings here. They're really wore out. This tranny also has issues with bushing wear, stuff like that. And then you can see here where the sprag runs looks really nice. You want to check your splines here. Check any wobbling in the gears. I'm going to show you a different style of sprag real quick. I've got parts over here for 5 or 6 of these trannies to build. I'm waiting on all my billet shafts to come in. But you can see this is an early style sprag. This is the new style sprag they upgraded to. So the drum has changed. This area has changed. But this sprag works better than this one. That's what they updated to. You would think so, since that one's so big. And then you look at this little puny thing. You're going, how is that possible? So, technology is technology. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And they usually let the customer figure it out first before they change it. So, and we have our coast clutch here. Cooked up pretty good. Like I say, this have bonded pistons in here. They shrink, they get hard, just like your standard rubber band type seal you put on the piston that comes on and off. See the sprag standing there. And then on your overdrive sun gear, you want to look on both sides of this gear right here for any type of wear. That's a really small gear and it takes a heck of a load. Almost 90% of these we have to replace. When I get this cleaned up and get all the dirt off of it, if I see any chips or the coating, hard coating's starting to peel off, it's got to be replaced. So. And here we have your overdrive clutch here. Now, I don't know if you notice this, Trent, this thing here physically has this one little tab that sets right in here and keeps this piston or this drum from spinning. Now, the later model I showed in my earlier videos, they have a little bit different thing here. Sets in there like that. So, the later one I'm fixing to tear down has a big pin right here that it sets into. There's your overdrive clutch there. Oh, I tore my glove. Grab me another one real quick. So these drums, all these parts got hot or spots on them that'll cut you. So you gotta be really careful. So, but you can see these seals on these overdrive pistons right here. They're just and they're hard as a rock. They almost will break. but they're really a fine lip seal right here. They wear, they'll start leaking around the pistons, stuff like that, so that's a must to replace. A lot of guys don't even take that apart. A lot of guys don't, when they take it apart, they can't get it back together. I've showed Trent how to do it. Let me tell you, it's not easy to do. So a lot of guys just air check it, oh, it's good, and they put it back in, but then they have issues. So we have our forward clutch here. And we're going to check this really quick and see if it has a ring to it or a thud. So we have a nice ring, so we got a good forward clutch hub here that we can go back in instead of having to buy a billet one. And then we have our forward clutches here. Now we haven't got to the really bad burn up spot yet, that's where all the trash is in the pan and plugged it up to burn the forward clutch up yet. But you always want to look down in here, this spot right here and this one right here. If you have any wear where these two seals run, that fluid pressure comes through this hole right here and applies this forward clutch. So if you have bushing wear here that lets your shaft come over and rub, it'll leak around these rings and burn your forward clutch up. So this is a real critical drum to look for that wear in that area. Now we'll be getting all the plastic out of this. We've already got washer kits over there that have all brass washers and stuff. The more plastic you can get out of these things, the better off you are. So. Now this is our third gear clutch, third reverse clutch. Now here's all of our shrapnel that's in the pan that probably caused the failure of everything else, stuff like that. Lack of service. Filter plug up from lack of service. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can burn a tranny up, guys. And number one thing is the filter. Low on fluid, lack of service, stuff like that. If you change your oil, change your tranny fluid. Let's see if I can get this apart and see if this drum's any good. Now, these got to have the 34 element sprags in them. And these drums here, we're not going to put anything but. He's going to be pulling his race cars and stuff like that, so we want to make sure he doesn't have any issue. The only thing, the gloves, you can't feel ridges and stuff like that, so that's why you're going to have to really clean them up and feel with your hands and stuff like that. So now it does have the cheap sprag on it from the factory. It's got a good drum, but it's got the cheap sprag. So what I'm talking about cheap is this right here. You can see they had roller clutches here. I showed a customer, I don't remember what I did with it yesterday, but they have roller clutches here, they have sprag assemblies here. This is called a sprag assembly, so it has a good drum, so we don't have to buy a drum. So let's look at this drum, make sure it looks good where the sprag runs. Looks really nice. Scotch-Brite's your friend. You want to look in here where the sealing rings run. Looks really nice. So this drum looks really nice. Of course, we got a cut seal hanging out of the drum that's already blowed out, stuff like that. But we'll look in there and see if the piston's cracked or good. We can replace that. But then you get in here and look at the sprag. If I can get this out. These gloves make it a little slippery. Now this is a GM factory sprag here. No elements, but then here we have the good sprag. And what's good about it is we have a drum. Where some of these units come out with the early sprags, we lose the drum and all. We have to buy a drum, we have to buy a sprag assembly. The price goes up for the customer, stuff like that. So Quentin, you did good here so far. I believe we got a good drum. Get down in here a little deeper. Now they're thinking this thing has straight cut planets, stuff like that. If it does, it'll be a miracle. But the thing is, with straight cut planets are cool, believe it or not. But if you have one piece that's wore out or anything like that, getting that one piece to keep using the rest of the straight cut planets can be hard. because they're not existing no more. So we have a 4-clutch second gear. We have a wave right here. This is a wave plate. Now, being a tow rig, we're going to leave the wave plate in it, put a heavy duty sprag in it. You still make it shift a little bit firmer, but we don't want this banging type, just direct hitting all the time on that sprag. Even though it's a heavy duty sprag, we still want this unit to last. So we're still going to leave the wave in there. Broke my good screwdriver the other day. I got a little violent with it. And then here's our beveled snap ring, guys. Just make sure the flat goes in. Don't get these mixed up. I've seen guys do it all the time. So you put that in backwards, it'll pop right out. It goes flat in, bevel out. Pretty simple. Okay, this is where I want to see what we got. We're going to pull the support out first. We're going to grab the sun gear. If these sun gear, the teeth are straight, then it's a straight cut. If it's angled, it's not. And unfortunately, we got an angle cut. It is not a straight cut. But let me tell you guys, these straight cut gears, if you get a good set, it's nice. But if I have to find one of these and everything else is good, finding this piece right here could cost you more money than trying to use a straight cut Planet. Now, is there a power gain? Nowadays most cars that make 1,000 don't know what weight is or anything anyway. So I don't think so. If you had a 400 horsepower or something, you might gain a little bit, but I just don't think so. And we have a roller clutch here. Now we do have quite a bit of band wear here. These are some really big ridges through here. I mean, this thing really, the drum will have to be replaced. Like that. So. Got our center support. We do have our little thin snap ring in the case that sets under the support. Like that. Sprag inner race looks really nice. They do make two different bushings here. Let me show you really quick. I'll grab what I'm talking about, because if you put the wrong bushing in here, you're in trouble too. Let me see. Have to open a bushing kit really quick and show you guys, because I really want to get in some depth on these bushings and rear lube and stuff like that. Now you can see the difference in the bushings. But believe it or not, these bushings will fit either direction. So you got to be really careful. You got to line the holes up. When I do this bottom one here, this here slot. See, this is the early design, so this is going to take this style. That one, later design rear lube is going to take this style. So this one here, this one over there. So I'm going to show you a little bit more on bushings here in a second too. That way you don't get them mixed up, because if you put the wrong bushing in this tranny in one area, it'll burn up. It'll burn the gear train right out of it. So okay, the band looks smoked too. Like I said, this thing's got a lot of heat damage, clutch damage and stuff like that, but not really hard part damage where it's going to just really, really break the bank on fixing this, like one of my earlier videos. I looked for my little black screwdriver. Is there one laying right there? Let me try to pop this apart.
Oh, well, yeah, there's two of them.
Is there, let me grab it up there. I did. That black handle got rolled down in there, lost it somewhere in there. Now, if you notice, this here has a thrust plate and a thrust washer in the back of the case right here. Now, we'll be updating this all to roller bearing stuff right here. We'll be going back with a case saver bushing. Now, we do have to modify this bushing a little bit here. to work with a roller bearing, but if you know what you're doing, you can do it. Compared to I know I poked a hole in there. That's what these gloves are, kind of hard to work with sometimes. But you can get this is your standard 4L80 case bushing in the back. This is a Sonex. Look at the support difference, guys, on that shaft. If you look here, that little bushing compared to this one. I mean, it's just, there's no brainer right there, guys. So that's a big help right there. We'll get this bushing right here. Got a lot of metal in it right there. You can see it's been really starting to pick up the trash in there. Right at the back right here, this is pretty much where it dead ends the fluid does. So if you look here, being that this is a hollow shaft, the fluid comes back here at the back, comes back and lubricates that bushing right there, and that's why you get a lot of trash back here in the back. You gotta look at this right here where that bushing's been running. You can see it's all scarred up, has to be replaced. Now this is one of the shafts we're going to be replacing along with the input shaft, this shaft right here. Now being that this is a front lube, it loops through the center of the shafts. Then the fluid comes through here and here, sprays out, lubricates all your gear train and stuff like that. Now the rear loop style, the shafts are all solid and it lubricates through the bushings. So totally different deal. You put the wrong shaft in here, that's gone. If you put the wrong bushing in, it's gone. What I'll show you here, if you look here, you can see this bushing right here. This bushing is just a flat style bushing. This thing here lubes from the front to the rear. The rear to the front lubes with these bushings. See the grooves in the bushings? That's because your lubrication oil goes to the bushings and lubricates that way. Two totally different deals. And you'll have a solid shaft right here because the oil is going through the bushing instead of going through the center of the shaft. So, of course, you want to look at your planetary. Check them for any wobbling or anything like that. And also, guys, I'm going to show you something here too that it's really easy to miss. Now, when we build these trannies back, we come in here and TIG weld these pins right here where they can't move because they will physically slide and stick out just enough to start grabbing this washer. If you notice this washer right here, see how it's cut from here to here? It's shaved off. That's because one of these pins is sticking out just enough right now because it's walked and started cutting your washer. So if you put a new washer on here, it's going to shave the new washer. So what we'll do is we'll press these pins back down and give us some clearance here, and then we'll TIG weld them where those pins can never move again. Real common problem. So, not too bad. Not going to take as much parts as I thought it was going to take or anything like that to get this one back together anyway. So we're going to take and tear down the later version here in just a second in another video. So y'all don't forget to subscribe. We need to get our subscribes up high, guys, because it just don't seem like we're getting enough notification, or there's just not enough big people out there listening to what we're trying to prove and what we're trying to get out to the people out there, because all my videos are educational. Kids nowadays, when they get out of school, they don't have a lot of place to go. To try to get into a transmission place to learn transmissions is almost impossible nowadays. But this is a field that you can make a lot of money if you're good at it and stuff like that. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm trying to get it out to the kids to get them to learn this stuff. And it's kind of heartbreaking that you can't get help, but you know what I'm talking about. But we enjoy what we're doing. We're not going to stop doing it. We love putting it out there, educational all the way, guys. So don't forget to subscribe. Next one coming. Stay tuned.